All right, so let's dive into a real blast from the past. I'm talking about Flappy Bird.
Oh, yeah?
You probably remember it, right? That little bird,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
those infuriating pipes.
Yes.
But the story behind it
Yeah.
is even wilder than trying to beat your high score.
Wow.
We're talking overnight success.
Okay.
A creator wrestling with some serious guilt.
Well.
And even phones with the game installed selling for crazy amounts.
What? Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
So,
That is.
in this deep dive, we're going to uncover the full story of Flappy Bird.
Okay.
From its humble beginnings to its controversial removal, and what it all says about mobile gaming and the wider world of app development.
It really is a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Flappy Bird became this unexpected phenomenon, and looking back, it tells us a lot about the unpredictable world of mobile gaming and even the responsibility that comes with creating something that millions of people use.
Exactly. And it all starts with one guy in Vietnam,
Oh, wow.
Dong Nguyen,
Dong Nguyen.
right, who built the game in a matter of days.
Really?
It's incredible.
That's amazing.
And you won't believe this, but the bird itself,
Yeah.
Faby,
Okay.
was a character he designed for a completely different game that never even launched.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy.
So it's interesting how that worked out. Nguyen's design philosophy was all about simplicity, which was kind of a reaction to the complex, big-budget games he saw coming out of the West.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the idea that innovation can come from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
In Nguyen's case, he had this minimalist approach inspired by retro-pixelated games.
Right.
And it ended up resonating with millions around the world.
Absolutely.
That
Good
goes for-
reminder that sometimes stripping things back to the basics can be incredibly effective.
Okay, so let's talk about how Flappy Bird went from being this under-the-radar game to a global sensation.
Okay.
It launched in 2013 and didn't make much noise at first.
Right.
Then YouTuber PewDiePie features it,
Mm-hmm.
and things went crazy.
PewDiePie was massive at the time.
Oh.
His shout-out to Flappy Bird had an enormous impact introducing the game to his huge audience.
It was like someone lit a firecracker under the game.
Wow.
Suddenly, everyone was downloading and playing Flappy Bird. It was topping the app charts worldwide.
Wow.
Imagine going to bed as a relatively unknown developer and waking up to find your game is the talk of the town.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
And we're not just talking about popularity either.
right.
At its peak, Nguyen reported earning $50,000 a day from the game, mainly from in-app advertising.
$50,000 a day.
A day.
That's insane.
That is insane.
But here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
All this success started to weigh on Nguyen's conscience. He actually felt guilty about how addictive Flappy Bird had become
Really?
and worried about the negative impact it was having on people, including himself.
It's such a unique situation. It makes you think about the responsibility developers have when it comes to the things they create, especially when those creations involve mechanics that can become addictive.
So in February 2014, Nguyen makes this dramatic decision to pull the plug.
Wow.
He removes Flappy Bird from both app stores.
Really?
Right at the height of its popularity.
That's wild.
It is wild to think about what happened next.
Okay.
Phones with Flappy Bird already installed were being listed online for crazy amounts.
No way.
We're talking thousands of dollars, with some bids going over $90,000.
Wow.
That really shows you the frenzy that surrounded the game.
Yeah, it does.
Of course, you also had a ton of copycat games flooding the app stores trying to ride the wave of Flappy Bird's success.
Makes sense.
Apple and Google were forced to crack down removing these clones as fast as they could.
Wow. So it's almost like a power vacuum was created when Flappy Bird disappeared and everyone rushed in to fill the void.
Right, but what about Nguyen?
Yeah.
Did he ever regret taking the game down?
He did say he wouldn't rule out bringing it back,
Okay.
but only with a take a break warning added to address those concerns about addiction.
So did a re-release ever happen?
He released a revised version called Flappy Bird's Family, but it was only available on Amazon Fire TV.
Huh.
Then just this year, the trademark for Flappy Bird was transferred, and there are plans for an unofficial reboot.
Wow.
Nguyen has said that he's not involved in that project.
Wow, what a wild ride.
It is.
Who would have thought that a simple game about a bird navigating some pipes could have such a complex and dramatic backstory?
It's really quite extraordinary. It highlights just how unpredictable the world of mobile gaming can be and how viral trends can explode out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It also raises some really important questions about things like game addiction and the responsibility that developers have to their players.
Absolutely. So far, we've covered a lot of ground from Flappy Bird's humble beginnings to its chaotic aftermath.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I'm curious,
Yeah.
what stood out to you the most about this story?
I think for me, it's Nguyen's decision to remove the game at its peak.
Yeah.
It's not every day you see a developer walk away from that kind of success
Yeah.
because of ethical concerns.
Right. It makes you wonder about the unintended consequences of the things we create, especially in the digital world.
Definitely.
But I also find the whole PewDiePie effect fascinating.
Yeah.
It shows just how much influence individuals can wield in our hyper-connected world.
It's incredible, isn't it? One person's recommendation can catapult a product, an idea, even a political campaign into the spotlight.
Right.
It's exciting and a bit daunting at the same time.
Totally. Okay, let's rewind a bit and talk about the game's creation.
Okay.
We know Nguyen built Flappy Bird in just a few days, but what were his inspirations? What was he aiming for?
Well, Nguyen has said that he was inspired by those classic retro arcade games like Super Mario Bros. He felt that modern Western games had become too complex, too cluttered.
Okay.
He wanted to create something pure, simple, and extremely challenging.
And challenging it was.
Yeah.
I remember tossing my own phone aside in frustration more than a few times playing Flappy Bird.
Oh, yeah?
But I kept coming back for more. What is it about these simple, almost minimalist games that makes them so addictive?
That's a question psychologists and game designers have been grappling with for years.
Yeah.
There are a few factors at play. Firstly, there's the simplicity of the gameplay itself.
Okay.
Flappy Bird's easy to pick up and understand, but mastering it is a whole other story.
Right.
This creates a loop of challenge and reward that keeps players hooked.
It's that just one more try mentality, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can do better. You just need one more shot to prove it.
Precisely. There's the element of randomness.
Okay.
The placement of those pipes is never the same, so you can't memorize patterns or develop a foolproof strategy.
Right.
It keeps the game fresh and unpredictable, even after hours of playing.
And we can't forget the competitive aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Flappy Bird quickly turned into this social phenomenon. People were sharing their scores, challenging friends, bragging about their skills or lack thereof, all over social media.
That social element is huge in mobile gaming. It creates a sense of community and competition, which can be incredibly motivating for players.
Right.
And of course, there's the fear of missing out, that FOMO factor.
Oh, yeah.
When everyone's talking about a game, you feel like you need to be in the loop, even if it's just to see what the hype is about.
So we've got simplicity challenge, randomness competition, and FOMO all wrapped up in this cute little package with a pixelated bird. It's no wonder the game took the world by storm.
It really was the perfect storm of game design elements that tapped into some of our most basic instincts for competition, reward, and social connection. And it all happened almost by accident.
Speaking of accidents, let's talk about Phoebe the Flappy Bird herself. I read somewhere that she wasn't even originally designed for this game.
That's right. Nguyen actually created Phoebe back in 2012 for a different game, a side-scrolling platformer where the player controlled a bird.
Wow.
But that project never got off the ground.
So he had this bird character just sitting around waiting for her moment to shine.
Exactly. And when Nguyen was brainstorming ideas for a new mobile game, he remembered Phoebe and thought she would be perfect for a simple, one-touch gameplay mechanic.
It's amazing how sometimes the most successful ideas come from repurposing old ones. It's like creative recycling.
Absolutely. It shows the importance of experimentation and being open to revisiting old ideas with fresh eyes. Who knows? Maybe that project you abandoned months ago holds the key to your next big breakthrough.
Words to live by.
Yeah.
But back to Flappy Bird. We've talked about Nguyen's design philosophy, the addictive gameplay, the accidental origins of Phoebe. What about the technical side of things?
Yeah.
How did he actually build the game?
We remember Nguyen was a solo developer.
Right.
He was responsible for every aspect of the game's development, from programming and art to sound design and even marketing.
Wow.
He used a game engine called Coco's 2DX,
Okay.
a popular choice for 2D mobile games.
And I read somewhere that the gameplay was actually inspired by something pretty unusual, ping pong.
Yes. Nguyen has said that the idea for Flappy Bird's gameplay came to him while he was watching a ping pong match on TV.
Really?
He was fascinated by that back and forth motion of the ball and how players had to constantly adjust to keep it in play.
So he essentially translated the physics of ping pong into a mobile game that's pretty ingenious.
It really is, and it goes to show that inspiration can come from anywhere. Sometimes all it takes is a fresh perspective and a willingness to see the world through a different lens.
It makes you wonder what other everyday activities could be turned into hit mobile games. Maybe we'll see a doing the dishes simulator or a folding laundry challenge topping the App Store charts next.
No, that would be something, but I think the success of Flappy Bird really lies in its simplicity and its ability to tap into our very basic instincts.
Yeah.
It's a game that anyone can pick up and play, but it's also incredibly challenging and rewarding. That's a potent combination.
You're right. It goes to show that you don't need flashy graphics, intricate stories, or a huge development team to create a global phenomenon. Sometimes a simple idea, a bit of luck, and a whole lot of passion are all it takes.
And perhaps a little bit of guilt, after all. It was Nguyen's concern for his players that ultimately led him to remove the game from app stores.
That's true. It brings us back to the question of ethical responsibility in game design, something that more and more developers are grappling with, especially as games become more immersive and potentially addictive.
It's a vital discussion, and it's only going to become more critical as technology continues to blur the lines between the virtual and real worlds. But for now, I think Flappy Bird serves as a powerful reminder that even the simplest of games can have a profound impact on our lives, both for good and for bad.
So we've explored the creation of Flappy Bird, delved into the addictive nature of its gameplay, and touched upon the ethical dilemmas facing developers ready to dive into the game's meteoric rise and its even more sudden disappearance. Let's do it. The rise and fall of Flappy Bird is one of those stories that almost feels like an urban legend.
Right. But it really happened, and it's a tale of viral marketing,
Yeah.
unexpected success, and all the pressure that comes with instant fame.
It's a story that really captures a moment in time when everything was changing in terms of how we consume media, play games, and interact with each other online.
Okay, so paint the picture for us.
Yeah.
It's early 2014. Flappy Bird's been out for a while, but it's not exactly setting the world on fire.
Right.
Then out of nowhere, bam.
Oh, yeah.
It explodes in popularity. What happened?
Well, we talked earlier about PewDiePie,
Right.
and his shout out to Flappy Bird was definitely a major catalyst. He featured it in one of his Let's Play videos, and his millions of subscribers took notice.
It really is amazing to see how much influence YouTubers and social media personalities have these days.
It is.
They can make or break a product, a trend, or even a whole movement with a single post or video.
It's a testament to the power of online communities and the trust that people place in those content creators.
And for Flappy Bird, PewDiePie's endorsement was like adding gasoline to a bonfire. The game rocketed to the top of the app charts, and everyone was suddenly talking about it.
I remember seeing it everywhere, news articles, social media, even billboards.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't escape the Flappy Bird frenzy.
It was a true viral phenomenon, but it wasn't just PewDiePie.
Right.
Flappy Bird had several other things going for it that contributed to its success.
Like what?
Well, for one, it was free.
Oh.
Anyone with a smartphone could download and play it without spending a dime. That kind of accessibility is crucial for anything that goes viral.
That makes a lot of sense.
Plus, it was that perfect balance of simple but incredibly challenging.
Right.
As we talked about before, that easy-to-learn, hard-to-master gameplay is a recipe for keeping players coming back for more.
People love a challenge, especially when they can brag about it to their friends.
Exactly. And the third thing working in Flappy Bird's favor was that it was perfectly designed for mobile. You could pick it up and play for a few minutes, anywhere. Anytime. It was a perfect fit for our increasingly mobile and time-fragmented lives.
It really was the perfect game for that moment in time.
It was, so you've got all these elements converging, major influencers, shout-out free-to-play access, incredibly addictive gameplay, and a design that was made for mobile. It's no surprise that Flappy Bird became the global phenomenon it did.
And then, almost as quickly as it became a sensation, it disappeared. Nguyen pulled it from the app stores at the height of its popularity.
Right.
It seemed like such a strange decision.
Well, as we discussed, Nguyen was wrestling with a lot of guilt over creating something he felt was too addictive. He was worried about its impact on people's lives, including his own.
He even said that it was affecting his own sleep.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough.
It is. It speaks to the power technology has over us and the responsibility that creators have to think about the potential consequences of the things they create.
So he was basically willing to walk away from millions of dollars in potential revenue because of his conscience.
It seems that way in a world that's so driven by profit and virality.
Yeah.
It's a pretty remarkable act.
It really is, but Nguyen's decision to remove Flappy Bird didn't just affect him.
Right.
It had a ripple effect throughout the tech world.
You're right. Suddenly, phones that still had Flappy Bird installed were being sold online for ridiculous amounts.
Yeah.
People were desperate to get their hands on a piece of this now-vanished game.
I remember seeing those listings on eBay, some going for tens of thousands of dollars. It was crazy.
It was like a digital gold rush. And of course, wherever there's demand, there will be people trying to cash in. Countless clones and copycats flooded the app stores, all hoping to fill the void left by Flappy Bird. Apple and Google had their work cut out for them trying to keep up with it all.
It was a wild time in the mobile gaming world, all because one developer decided to follow his conscience instead of chasing profits.
Yeah.
So what happened next? Did Flappy Bird ever make a comeback?
There's a revised version called Flappy Bird's Family.
Right.
But it was only released for Amazon Fire TV. The original Flappy Bird never officially returned to app stores.
But there is an unofficial reboot in the works, right? I think it's slated for 2024.
That's correct. However, Nguyen has stated that he has no involvement with this new project. It will be interesting to see how it's received by fans of the original game. Will it be able to recapture the magic, or will it just be another attempt to cash in on nostalgia?
I guess only time will tell on that one.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, the story of Flappy Bird, as simple as the game itself might seem, is a powerful reminder that even something seemingly small can have a huge impact on our culture, our economy, and even how we think about the digital world.
Absolutely. It's a story about viral trends and unexpected success, about the ethical challenges that come with developing games, and about the legacy of a little bird that could never quite stay between those pipes.
It also leaves us with some thought-provoking questions.
Right.
What's the real cost of going viral?
Yeah.
How do creators balance the pursuit of profit with a sense of responsibility toward their audience?
That's a good question.
And how do we as consumers shape the ever-changing landscape of technology and the things we consume?
Those are great questions to consider. It's a reminder that even something as seemingly simple as a mobile game can spark important conversations.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Flappy Bird. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep flapping.